KBI and FBI had to have been exhausted. They thought it was the 10 and they put him away. Were mistakes made? Maybe. Or were things overlooked? Maybe. But it also took him 31 years to catch him. He's not an easy foe. And I think he was just continually trying to play his games, and I don't think they realized that they thought he was done, and I think he was just starting new games.
Games that started not long after Dennis Rader was convicted in the deaths of 10 people. Joey, Josie, Julie, Joseph, Catherine, Shirley, Nancy, Vicky, Maureen, Dee. From his first kill nearly 50 years ago, up until his conviction in 2005, he would play with the community, writing letters and leaving behind clues. And it's that correspondence that eventually led him to plead guilty to the murders. Yet, as he ages, inside of that isolated prison cell, is he continuing to toy with the outside world? He can use a phone, electronic messaging, and mail letters, communication that his family pretty much has ignored. But his daughter Carrie Rawson tells me that his fans, they've pretty much bridged that gap.
On top of that, he was like cyber stalking me. So he was sending like third-party people to come harass me, like on social media and email, and they're like, what's your deal? Your dad's a really nice guy. And I'm like, he's using you.
When it comes to mail, inmates like Rader can only send letters such as this. Just like one an inmate sent me from the El Dorado Correctional Facility, where he's from. They have a timestamp and a seal, and may be inspected before being sent. However, it seems like much bigger items are getting out.
I found out my dad was knotting old sweatshirts and like sweatpants that say Rader stamped on them. Mm-hmm. And like shoes were getting out. I heard gold fillings got out from a dentist. And like when something that massive is getting out of prison, you know there's like some kind of backdoor system going on. But then what happened in 21, I got notified that my dad was signing crime scene photos, and he had signed one of Josie Otero, like taken of her after she was deceased. And somebody was sending copies of those in, and he was signing them as BTK.
She could not believe it. Those things now on the outside, getting to the hands of people online, ending up on websites like Cult Collectibles.
Letter from Dennis Rader, signed in full at the bottom, Dennis L. Rader, which is cool. You don't really see his full name signed too often.
Rader's mail and artwork are featured among the nearly 1,000 items on there. Owner Taylor James tells me that in his 6 years of operation, he's never paid any criminal.
With every item in every case, the inmate is involved. Specifically with this, Rader isn't involved in any way. Nothing's going to him. It's just somebody has these items.
More often than not, he's buying from people who simply want to get rid of stuff. And eventually those things will end up in the hands of filmmakers, museums, and collectors. Some items, like criminal trading cards, are valued at $5. Others, like this urn of Jeffrey Dahmer, are priced at $250,000. No matter the value, he knows that not everyone is sold on what he sells.
Just important in archiving parts of history that are obviously darker and some people don't want to really think about as much, a series that goes on the Netflix or a major podcast will make so much more money in advertising from that one piece of media than I think I possibly could selling this stuff for the rest of my life.
But then between 19 and 21, like I was getting notified of all this stuff on like the murderabilia black market.
Right.
It was like my dad's profiting. There's a son of Sam law that my dad can't profit off this stuff.
Carrie's convinced, though, that someone is getting money back to her dad. At one point, she says his prison bank status had close to $2,000 in it. Now, the Kansas Department of Corrections could not tell me about Rader's current financials, but they could tell me about 3 disciplinary actions against him, and all of them involve outgoing mail. In 2006, for a hidden letter. In 2019, a package with 2 teeth and nail clippings. And in 2020, a Ziploc bag with what's believed to be a lock of his hair. Carrie says her dad has asked family to sell some items on his behalf, but they have refused to do that. Not just because it's morally wrong, but also because it's illegal. Son of Sam is a law preventing criminals from profiting from their crimes. It's inspired by serial killer David Berkowitz, who used the name Son of Sam during his murder spree in the 70s. He sold his story rights, but New York lawmakers stepped in, saying he could not exploit the tragedy for a profit. If anyone were to make money, it would go to the victims. Not long after Rader was convicted, the victim's family sued him. A former attorney of the victim's trust tells me that they did agree, at least in one instance, of a writer, Catherine Ramsland, being able to correspond with Rader and share his story. She tells me he never made money from the book Confession of a Serial Killer. At least that stuff was agreed upon. But as for the items, like those autographed crime scene photos, those became too much for the survivors.
That was like the straw that broke the camel's back when I was sent that photo, because he maybe had signed it a few years before, but someone had just sent it to me, and I said, Dad, I'm done. I can't do this.
In the thick of my weeks-long research, I found a bunch of websites selling items from Rader as well as other killers. But I will admit there was a surprising twist to this all, something unexpected. I share more coming up after this break.